Personal Finance from TV9 News Network. I'm Sakshi Batra. And on this show, we get you an update of how the markets have been trading in the first half of trading session, and also to help you understand what really our experts are talking about the markets and its momentum going forward, which direction it will take, and how should investors really position their money and investments in the stock markets now. To help us understand and make sense of the markets currently is a very special guest joining in. Ms. Likhita Chepa joins in from CapitalVia Research. Likhita, good afternoon, and thank you very much for joining us. Help us understand what is your outlook on the markets, especially keeping in mind that 2 days of successful gains is what we have been witnessing, a broad-based buying on the backdrop of the constantly reducing COVID-19 numbers, which is definitely a big add-on. Will this momentum sustain going forward?
So good afternoon and thank you for having me on this show. Definitely this week Nifty had a very quite positive start as compared to the previous week. If we see the previous week's performance, there was high volatility and there was sell-off also in many of the sectors. But then with decreasing corona cases, we are able to see that every dip is being used as an opportunity to buy by the investors. Also, yesterday's Japan's GDP data has come, which is very positive, which has met the expectations of the street, and that's why Asian peers are reacting in a positive way, and Indian markets are also following its Asian peers. So for now, if Nifty sustains above the level of 15,050, which is very crucial level, and gives a closing above that, we can expect the market to continue its uptrend.
Absolutely. But where is exactly your focus right now? Are you focused more on the financials, keeping in mind that markets will perhaps now keep their eye out on how fast the economy really turns around after the peaking of COVID-19 cases? Or would you still be comfortable with some of the defensives like pharma, IT, or maybe even FMCG? Or on the other hand, are commodities still on the rise? And that is something that you are keeping an eye out on?
So I believe that there's still uncertainty in the market. 2021 is still going to be an year of uncertainty, and therefore it should be like investors should still pick defensives, if you ask me, because large caps and heavyweight sectors are still going to be under peer pressure. If some negative news is going to come out, you never know what happens. So I would rather suggest investors to stick to the defensives because farmers have been performing really well. And I think that the prospect is going to be still positive in the near future.
Okay. Also wanted to ask you, what's your thought on the broader market space? We are seeing that the mid caps and small caps are outperforming the markets in this kinds of uptrend that we are seeing in the markets currently. Is that something that investors should keenly watch now?
Yeah, it's been a couple of years since large caps have been dominating this broader market indices. So this year, I really think that mid caps and small caps are going to outperform large caps because their valuations are attractive and the risk reward ratio they're offering are comparably more favorable as compared to large caps. So I think mid caps are going to perform better.
Okay, I also wanted to take your views on some of the companies that have come out with their earnings, including the large cap stocks, say Bharti Airtel. No positive surprises there. Also, a minor disappointment on the ARPU front as well. What is your thought on Bharti Airtel and the entire telecom space?
Telecom space, as we all know, that there's still pressure in this telecom sector, so it is going to take some time for them to outperform and meet the street expectations. So for now, I would not advise telecom for any of the investors. It is rather better to stick to the defenses, as I already said.
Right. So in the defensive space, like you said, that you're positive on the pharma story. Two big names have actually come out with their earnings, including Cipla, which has somehow disappointed street, and the stock is now falling after the reporting of the results. Of course, we've seen a sharp run up on this counter before that. On the other hand, Gland Pharma, strong numbers coming out there, top line, bottom line, and even margins front. There is a sharp improvement, and there is this whole Sputnik opportunity that Gland Pharma is looking at the present as well. Also, Dr. Reddy's just yesterday came out with the earnings. So, keeping these names in mind, where is your focus right now, and how are you looking at these counters?
I mean, if we talk about the pharma space, I think the results are going to be mixed for most of the companies. We cannot just say that all the companies are going to come out and beat the street expectations. Because in 2020, I think almost all of the sector, I mean, all of the companies in the sector have really posted good numbers. So when it comes to the year-on-year comparison, there might be a dip in the growth, but then I think the overall sector outlook is going to be positive. So I think this space is still attractive.
Okay. And in the pharma, healthcare, maybe the extended pharma, where are you definitely advising investors to take a pick? Your recommendation from the healthcare space, what would that be?
It would definitely be the laboratory space and then the healthcare sector.
Okay. And which counter are you looking at over here?
So which counter? I think Alchem is going to be one of the Alchem, Dr. Reddy, and Ipca laboratories. All the three are, I mean, placed very well placed to reap its benefits. So I think all of these three companies are better.
Okay. Would you like to suggest any targets for Alchem Laboratories and a holding period for the investors who are looking at tapping some opportunities here?
Alchem Laboratories is special in its own way because it is quite supported by its global presence, and also the rating agencies have given a stable outlook recently. And if we speak of it in technical terms, the momentum indicators and moving averages are indicating some amount of bullish trend, and its gross profit margin and operating margin have been increasing consistently in the last 5 years. So I think in that way, Alchem is better placed rather than its competitors like Lalpat or Ipca Laboratories. So I see a target of 3130 in the next 6 to 8 months in this stock.
Okay. Since you're positive on the defensive space, from the IT segment particularly, is there a stock that is on your preferred list currently? Keeping in mind that, of course, there was a sharp run up during the earnings, but after that, the movement has been quite lackluster. But is there an opportunity that investors can look out for the long term in this space?
Definitely, if we talk about ICs, there are top 3 or 4 companies, and Infi would be the best to buy for me because ROE and ROCE have been greater than 20% in the past 5 years. That is a good opportunity for any investor, right? It has a
Mhm.
good track record. Its pipeline is also completely filled. It has good orders to be coming. Gross profit margin and operating margin have also been increasing in the last couple of years. So the company is also planning to raise its manpower in UK, as we all know. Almost all the companies are planning to raise, but Infosys happened to be the first one. So its robust pipeline and its prospects are looking promising. So I see a target of 1450 in Infosys in the next 8 to 10 months.
Okay, next 8 to 10 months, strong upside can be seen on Infosys if you're looking at some IT counters. Apart from this, which would be your last recommendation for the day before I let you go?
So I think Bharat Forge is also going to be a very good bet for the near term. Because it has been giving a trend line breaker and stock has been performing really well if you see the last 2 weeks performance, and the company is expected to produce armored vehicles for India very soon. Its ROE has been greater than 15% in the last 5 years, so we see a target of 770 in the next 1 year.
Okay, so Bharat Forge is also one of your top picks, and a sharp uptick can also be seen from the current levels on this counter if you're looking at such defense majors as well. Thank you very much, Likhita, for sharing your market views as well as your stock recommendations with all our Money9 viewers as well. Moving on, let's quickly see how the markets are trading at this point in time. Of course, at midday, we have seen that the markets have been performing, higher. Of course, trading at near their day's high level, 1.3% uptick for the Sensex and the Nifty, comfortably holding up above the 15,100 level for the Nifty 50. The Sensex also higher by almost 640 odd points. 50,220 is the level at which the Sensex is trading at. Gains can also be seen in the Nifty Bank and broader market space, which is outperforming the benchmark indices at this point in time. The Nifty Bank up 1.5% at 33,961, just a tad bit under the 34,000 level. The mid-cap stocks are definitely outperforming at this point in time with 1.8% gains. 21,216 is the level at which the BSE mid-cap is trading at, and 1.3% uptick also being seen for the small caps. Let's look at how the sectoral picture looks like at this point in time. In the morning screen, we had seen that all the stocks were gaining traction. Right now, if you see, the FMCG stocks are slipping a tad bit, down 0.19% at this point in time. But other than that, the gains are persistent in the metal space, although a tad lower from the opening gains. It's 1.5% uptick for this one as well. The banking space also slightly lower for the PSU banks today, 0.20% of gains only. Whereas the private banks are concerned, it's up 1.6% in trade right now. Financial services also gaining traction, 1.4% uptick for this one. What's really moving the markets right now and gaining traction is the auto space. It's buzzing with 2.7% gains at the moment. Realty index also higher by almost 1% at this point in time. The IT stocks are gaining traction too, 1.2% uptick here. And Infosys is a counter that definitely Likhita is betting big on. Metals are shining bright at 1.5% uptick at this point in time too. Moving on to see how the Nifty gainers and the losers are placed at this point in time. For the gainers, you can see some of the auto majors, especially the two-wheelers, really changing here and coming to the top of the charts at 4% gains for Bajaj Auto right now here. Tata Motors also up 3.5%. Of course, earnings has been a factor here. Power Grid, Titan and Bajaj Finance are the other counters which are up 3.5% to almost 4% in today's trade. When you talk about the laggards, especially in today's trading session, of course, at halftime, you will see Bharti Airtel, which is down 1.7%. No surprises in the earnings have been a clear-cut factor. Lower ARPU or the average revenue per user when compared to peers is something that is causing pressure here. UPL profit booking clearly 1% downtick for this one. ITC from the FMCG space is dragging the FMCG index clearly down 0.7%. Coal India from the PSU basket seeing profit booking, and Grasim also down 0.4% in trade right now. But overall, the markets are cheering. The lower numbers of COVID-19 vaccines and of COVID-19 cases. Also, on the other hand, the global cues have been quite supportive, and that is what the markets are really building momentum on. We'll keep you posted on how the markets really move towards the closing hour, and any kind of movement that really needs to be watched out for investors will be also told to you on money9.com. So stay with us.